Hello, welcome to my next instalment and thank you for joining me for this issue 2. This video we're going to be doing the components for the head and the right arm, and we'll begin to assemble the Terminator T800 endoskeleton's haunting skeletal grin. We'll start with the upper jaw area and teeth and then put together the first segment of the right arm. Okay, so as always, I do like to check my parts, and this week we have got quite a few parts. Sorry, just bear with me while I just cut these out. Now, I do notice, again, we have unlabelled screws, but I don't think it's going to be a major problem identifying them. And in fact, actually they put them all in the same bag, so I'll deal with those in a moment. So we have the upper jaw, which is this part. Now this surprises me, actually it's made of plastic. Not a problem. It does look very nice actually. Part 2, we have 4 pieces of teeth all on a sprue, so they'll need to be cut off and dealt with quite gently. Now these they're obviously aged teeth. They look a little bit brown. I was expecting something a little bit more yellow. We'll see how they look once they're fitted. Now we have a right arm component A. This is quite a solid metal part. And then we have 2-4, which is a right arm component. This is made of plastic. 2-5, which is a right arm component C. Again, this is made of plastic. You wouldn't know by looking at them. It's only by feel that you can tell. And lastly, we have the screws. Like I say, they have all of the screws in the same bag. I don't think it's going to be a problem to identify them. We have PB 2x6mm screw, PB 2x4mm screw, and KB 2x6mm screw. And what I've done is I've pre-labelled a pill container. Now last week we got a PB 2x4mm. There's only one 4mm screw and there's 2 6mm screws. So obviously this is going to be the 4mm screws because they're the shortest ones. And I can see from the remaining screws that we have a round headed screw and we have a flat headed screw. Now the PB 2x4mm screws, which we got last week, they're round headed screws, so therefore obviously they're going to go into there, so we can therefore deduce that the PB 2x6mm are the round ones, and that's them there. And therefore, by the process of elimination, the flathead screws must therefore be the KB. So there's my parts all ready for the build. So for stage 1, we simply take the right arm component A, which we just put to one side. Now it is slightly annoying when we have parts that we just simply put aside. I don't know the exact reason why they do this. My only theory from some builds, well, there's 2 theories I have. First of all, if they only gave you the parts that you need for that particular issue, you'll probably find that some parts you might get like a big piece, and that's all you get in that magazine. And then later on in another issue you might get, say, 20 different parts, and that could get quite annoying to have lots of parts. You look at one magazine and go, well, that's not really much. I mean, that's just a theory. The other theory that I have is, obviously from a business point of view, companies like to showcase the pieces that they get. So like issue 1, quite often you'll get a part that you won't use, but this will showcase. So for example, with issue 1 we got this piece that we didn't use, but what they were able to do was show us a nice metal parts, because they are advertising this has got is made of alloys, and also the LED. So obviously people will see metal parts and they'll see LEDs, and then people will go, oh, that looks fascinating, I'll buy it. So just make sure you've got a nice safe place to pop that. You could always wrap that in kitchen roll or toilet roll or something just to help protect it. I don't know when we'll use it, but that will be put into a little container which I'll use for later. Okay, so my apologies for showing 3 steps in one go. However, I do feel that that is testimony to Harchette's instructions. They've simplified, although a lot of us more advanced builders might be saying, well, we only need that in 1 step. It does showcase the fact that Harchette are catering this build for lots of different ability levels, so they've simplified the instructions, so that maybe somebody with maybe with a disability would be able to follow along. So what we're going to do is we're going to take piece number 1 from this week's magazine and piece number 2 from last week's magazine, Remember These Eyes, and what we're going to do, you'll see on the top there we have a male port. Male means sticking out, female means going inwards. So we have a male section there and 2 female sections. We also have 2 screw holes there. What we're going to do is we're going to line up, obviously this has got a female in the middle and 2 male. These 2 are going to go in like that, and just make sure that these 2 lugs there are lined up there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to attach those with the 2x6mm PB screws. So that will be these ones here. So we'll get those 2 ready. 1, 2. So what we'll do is holding these, it is quite a good fit, but obviously if you just hold one piece they could fall out, and we will be attaching them. So if you can see there's 5 holes in there, those 2 top holes there. So load up the first screw. Now, as you're probably already aware, I like to just pop the first screw in just enough, just so that it bites. There you go. So that's in. It's not in fully, but now I can let go of it. It won't fall out. And also, if I have popped these screws in not quite right, or perhaps I've put the wrong screws in, because they're not in fully, it means I can just double check my work. See there, I've just pulled them out. There we go, and straight away I can see that I've actually got them in the wrong screw hole. So whereas I told you to pop them in the 2 holes, you actually need to put them in 2 outside holes. So there we go, there's my first mistake of this issue. So we'll pop into that one. That was quite interesting because that didn't quite feel, it felt quite stiff. So always use the feel of it, and that can sometimes help to decide if you've done it wrong. Now this, I'm having a little bit of a struggle with this. It has said in a previous magazine that you may wish to use a longer screwdriver with a long, what do they call it, a shaft. I think I will just manage with this, but you may want to use a screwdriver with a longer shaft. Perhaps the screwdrivers that I got with the free gift might help. There we go. So I'm just going to screw a little bit, 1 screw in, just a little bit, couple of turns, and then back to the other one. There we are. And I think actually I've used the wrong screw head there. I've used a J000. I think I may actually have done a little bit better using perhaps a JO. So there we go, that's stages 2, 3 and 4 complete. And I'm sorry I can't help, my juvenile side is coming out now. I do love the way these eyes move. Okay, so for the next stage it's asking us to use 2 PB2 by 4mm screws. And you'll see that I have got 4. And the reason for that is that I've got 3 from this issue. They always give us a spare, and these are the same screws that we used last week, so obviously I've got a spare from last week, and they're going to go into these 2 lugs that we lined up, I mentioned in the last stage. And again, I've actually changed this time to JOO screw head. We'll see how we get on with those. And as always, I'm just going to pop the first one in, just enough to bite, and that's it. And that's just going to give it some extra security. I would guess that by the time we've added other components from the head, it's going to need these 2 extra screws. So it's just going to be able to stop us from accidentally knocking it. So there we go. A little bit on that side. And do you know what? I am going to go back to my JOO. I'm finding it's this particular screw head isn't gripping, whereas this one, it kind of digs into the screw a little bit more. Sometimes you want a nice wide head, and sometimes you want something that's going to dig into the screw a little bit better. Sometimes you want both. So it's a plastic part that you're screwing into, so you don't want to screw too tight because you could risk splitting it. So what I tend to do is I will just keep screwing until there's more resistance, and there we go. I'm very happy with that. That is not going anywhere. Okay, so for our next stage we're going to start working on the teeth. Now I'm going to do something slightly different. It's saying in the magazine to arrange them 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm actually going to arrange them backwards. The reason for that is that as we hold them, the 1 goes in there, then 2, then 3, then 4. So although in the magazine it says 1, 2, 3, 4, we're actually going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And I like to lay my parts out as we need them. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut them off the sprue. I'm really impressed with this sprue. These parts are clearly labelled. So I'm going to work on these one at a time. Now when I cut things off the sprue, people will tell you come in as close as you can with some flat-sided pliers. I actually like to go a little bit long. So you see there that on number 1 I've not quite cut enough off, and the reason for that is that I can then come in with my craft knife and I can then just finish that off. And I'm trying to use these properly. People will say never cut towards you, and I will agree with that. Obviously I will. It's just how I do it. I do it wrong, but I have had the consequences of doing it wrong. But obviously, like, if you know you're doing something wrong, then you accept your own consequences. So you could always use a file on that as well. I'm trying to keep the filing and the trimming to a minimum because I am aware that these teeth might show. They are quite smooth, so if you get file marks on them, it could show on the final model. At this particular point, I don't know which sections are going to be on show and which ones aren't. See, there you go. So again, I'm leaving that a little bit long, and then I'm just coming in. I have more control with this knife than I do with the trimmers. Oh, there you go. That was quite perfect. And then we'll just do number 4, like so, and that will be rubbish. So trim, trim. You know, if it takes you 3 or 4 cuts, then so be it. So that's number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and then I know that that is going to go on to there, that there, that there, and that there. So we need super glue in this section, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get an old piece of the packaging material, and I'm going to use that as a little place just to put my glue. Now there's 2 main types of glue as far as I'm concerned. You have thin super glue and thick super glue, or gel super glue. For this particular one, it does actually recommend to use super glue gel, and I think the reason for that is because being a little bit thicker, you tend to keep a little bit more control over it. Now it does say to use a cocktail stick or a match. However, I'm just going to place a little blob onto there, and I'm going to dip the teeth in. Now actually, one thing I forgot to tell you is let's do a test fit first. Now these should go in only one way, and I'm glad I've test fitted. There we go. So piece number 1. And I've actually just found a little piece that I didn't quite trim properly, so we'll just get my file. I can see the comments now. It's a good job you test fitted, because that wouldn't have fitted when it comes to glue. Obviously if this doesn't fit and you've got glue on it, it's a little bit too late then. So what I'm noticing is that the inside of the teeth feels a little bit flatter. There we go. So I'm going to guess that that's going to go in like that. So be careful. You might want to do this over a tray or a container, and that way if the teeth fall out, they will have a tendency to fall into the container and not bounce all over the floor. So there you go, that's what they're going to look like. So I'm going to place that like that, that like that. That's fallen out, so we'll do another dry fit. There we go. And you see I've arranged those teeth in the order that they will go in. So now, one thing, I don't know if this is unique to this brand or super glue in general, but you really do have to give it a good shake. And I'm not sure if this glue is going to be any good. It's coming to the end of the container, and do you know what, I'm going to give that a miss, because in fact, no I'm not. Yeah, I'm struggling. The actual lid's got itself stuck, so I think we may have to start a new pot on that one. So my apologies for that. So I have a new pot of super glue. Now, as I say, I don't know if it's unique to this brand, but the first time I used this, it came out all watery, and I thought, oh, there's a problem with it. But there was a big sticker there. It says gel shake well. So give it a really good shake. I'm guessing it's kind of made up of 2 components, and it only really works when you combine the 2 components. So I'm going to put a workable blob of super glue on there. So you see there, that's quite a good blob. And I'm going to start with the back teeth, and I'm just going to give that a little small dab. Not too much, because you don't want it to squirm out. And we'll just pop those in there. Oops. There we go, they've gone in nice. Be careful, because this is probably the strongest super glue that I've ever come across. If you get any on your skin, it will stick. Just as a precaution, if you get any on your skin, what I tend to do is I'll run to the bathroom, I'll run the cold tap, obviously not with any hands, and actually holding your hand like that, and then run your hand under the cold tap until that super glue sets, and then you'll end up with effectively an extra layer of skin, and then you can just pick it off at your leisure. So I've done piece number 1. Next I'm going to do number 4, and another test fit. You can't dry fit too many times, I don't think. So tiny dab on there. Sometimes this glue seems to work better if you actually put less in. There we go. So they're in. Test this first one. I've had enough time to dry, and that second one is in, and then we'll go for piece number 2. Whoops. Right, I'm going to have to stop there because I've actually dropped the piece, which now means I've lost my orientation, so I can't remember which way round that goes. So I'm going to just give that a little bit of a wipe. So I've actually made 2 errors on this now. So what we'll do is we'll go on to piece number 3, and then I'll glue that in. What I don't, if I've obviously you drop the piece and you pick it up and it's the wrong orientation, you've got glue on it, and you find out you've got it wrong, it's going to stick and you're going to get it wrong. So there you go. It looks like he's just been in a fight there because he's got the set teeth missing. So another dry fit on this one. No, we'll let this one dry first. Okay. I'm having a bit of a struggle with this one. So a last dry fit. There we go. Little dab of glue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there we go. I am very happy with that. You could also obviously have put glue along the edge. I don't think it really needs it, but if you are struggling, just turn this lamp off. And there we go. And that's the teeth complete. Oh, except it isn't because the glue hasn't dried yet. I think we just need to leave that a little bit longer. Actually, now feeling the teeth, where you feel the flat bits, they're actually nice. They all line up. So obviously he's not been eating anything, but it's, yeah, no, that looks like one complete set of teeth to me. So I'm happy with that. Okay, so we're going to finish this issue off by assembling 2 parts of the right arm components, and these are the parts, part 4 and 5. Now there's only 2 ways to put these together. If you see that the way that the screw holes are lined up, they can either go this way or they can go this way. And the way that you know you've got it correct is you've got a little hole there, and you see they line up. If you were to put it in the wrong way round, they do fit, but there's half a notch there, and there's half a notch there. So we'll just turn it round. I don't understand at this point why that's important. I guess it's obviously to do with something later on, but obviously if we get it wrong at this stage, it might be 20-30 issues before we find out that's wrong. So we'll take our I forget which screws we're using, KB screws. Now these are the flat headed screws, flat top, and then I'm just going to pop that in just enough to grab, and then I'll show you the screw. It's got a flat top to it, and we got 3 with the issue, but we only need 2, and that will go in there very nicely. So check that we still got it correct. Give that a few more turns, and again these are plastic parts, so once it starts to become stiff, that's where I'm going to stop. There we go, and then we just check the fit. That's moving ever so slightly, so I'm just going to give it half a turn on both screws, and that stopped the wobble. So that's that stage complete. So that is now this issue complete. So I'm very happy, and I'm now looking forward to the next issue. So that's the end of issue 2. Very happy with that build. As you can see, like, after only 2 issues, we've got quite a collection of parts. We've got the head, we've got another piece of the head, we've got this arm piece, and then this joint that we've made this week, and obviously we've got this little black part, which I suspect is a servo arm to control the eyes. Obviously I don't know for certain. Very happy. This week's magazine has got an article about Iron Man and another article about robotic arms. Now for me this is still a test, and by test I mean that I'm testing it. I don't know if I'm still going to enjoy this, so I've decided I'm going to go for 5 issues. At the end of the 5 issues I'm going to decide if I'm going to continue the build. It is going to be quite a long build. It's 120 issues I think at £9 an issue. It's not going to be far off £1,200. It's going to be a little bit less than £1,200. So I need to be sure that I want to build this all the way to the end. So I've decided to dedicate 5 issues to it. As it stands purely on 2 issues, I'm very happy with it, and it looks like I will continue. And I do already have seen issue 3. Issue 3 looks very nice. There's some nice parts that we can progress with. So yeah, I will see you in the next video. That will be in 2 more weeks time, because again I still don't know the delivery schedule from Hachette. And in issue 3 I'm going to tell you how you can win this, which is the screwdriver set with that came with the first pack. Okay guys, so I'll see you in the next issue.
Motion elements.